In September 1944, near Dompaire, France, elements of the French 2nd Armoured Division with American air support engaged German Panzer Brigade 112. An M18 Hellcat, assigned to a tank destroyer platoon, accelerated along a paved country road, reaching a tested top speed of 55 miles per hour. Its 76mm gun fired, striking a Panzer IV's flank, then withdrew before German turrets could traverse. The Hellcat's radial engine roared its lightweight frame, 37,557 pounds, outrunning heavier German tanks. Dust trailed as it vanished into a tree line, leaving German crews struggling to respond. The M18 Hellcat, officially the 76mm gun motor carriage M18, was engineered for mobility. Its Continental R975 radial engine, paired with a 900T Torqmatic automatic transmission, delivered a power-to-weight ratio superior to most 1944 tanks. Weighing 37,557 pounds, it contrasted sharply with the Panzer V Panther's 98,000-pound mass. Designers sacrificed armour often less than 1 inch thick for speed, accepting vulnerability to prioritize tactical flexibility. The 76mm M1 gun with 45 rounds, typically stowed, could penetrate Panzer IV armour at ranges under 1,000 yards, though Panther frontal plates often resisted standard rounds. United States tank destroyer doctrine shaped the Hellcat's role. Crews trained to exploit speed, seeking flank shots or ambushes, then repositioning swiftly termed shoot and scoot. In open terrain or on roads, this allowed engagement control. At Dompaire, M18s exploited mobility to disrupt German formations, firing from concealed positions, then relocating before artillery or counterfire could zero in. German tanks generally had lower sustained road speeds under operational conditions and struggled to match brief high-speed bursts on prepared roads. The Hellcat's high-speed operations increased maintenance demands, requiring more frequent overhauls and careful crew maintenance cycles. Crews balanced tactical dashes with mechanical limits, aware that mud or rough ground could negate their advantage. At Dompaire, favourable roads amplified the M18's edge, enabling rapid strikes that German commanders found difficult to predict or counter. German crews peering through periscopes cursed as Hellcats outmaneuvered their slower Panthers. The M18's ability to dictate engagement terms, firing then vanishing, frustrated Panzer Brigade 112's attempts to consolidate. This mobility reshaped local tactical geometry, forcing Germans to divert resources to protect flanks. By late 1944, 2,507 M18s, produced from July 1943 to October 1944, equipped United States battalions across France, Italy, and beyond, validating a design, prioritizing speed over protection. The M18 Hellcat's debut at Dompaire showcased its ability to outmaneuver German tanks, leveraging speed to dictate engagements. This tactical edge stemmed from deliberate engineering choices, prioritizing mobility over protection. The 76mm gun motor carriage M18 was a calculated response to 1944 battlefield demands, balancing firepower, speed, and weight in a way that set it apart from heavier contemporaries. The Hellcat's core was its Continental R975 radial engine, producing 400 horsepower paired with a 900T Torqmatic automatic transmission. This combination yielded a power-to-weight ratio of approximately 24 horsepower per ton, significantly higher than the Panzer IV's 15 horsepower per ton. Weighing 37,557 pounds, the M18's light construction, using welded steel plates, often under 1 inch thick, enabled a tested top speed of 55 miles per hour on paved surfaces. This speed, achieved in controlled tests, exceeded practical sustained road speeds of many German tanks under operational conditions, though field conditions like mud or broken terrain often reduced operational tempos. The 76mm M1 gun defined the Hellcat's offensive capability. Capable of firing 45 rounds, typically a mix of armor-piercing and high-explosive shells, it could penetrate Panzer IV armor at ranges up to 1,000 yards. Against the Panther's sloped frontal armor, standard rounds struggled, requiring closer ranges or flank shots for reliable kills. high-velocity, armor-piercing composite rigid ammunition when available, improved penetration, but was scarce in 1944. A Browning 50 caliber M2HB machine gun, mounted for anti-aircraft or infantry defense, supplemented the main gun with about 800 rounds stowed. The Torqmatic transmission required regular maintenance and was subject to increased wear under sustained high-speed use. Crews learned to manage mechanical strain, balancing rapid repositioning with maintenance schedules. The M18's design accepted these trade-offs, prioritizing tactical flexibility over durability in prolonged engagements. Its open-top turret, while reducing weight, exposed crews to small arms fire and artillery shrapnel, a risk deemed acceptable for speed and situational awareness. German tankers scanning horizons, cursed as M18s, vanished after delivering precise shots. At Dompaire and similar clashes, the Hellcat's mobility disrupted German counterattacks, forcing German commanders to redeploy sluggishly. The M18's production run 2,500, 7 units from July 1943 to October 1944, ensured its presence across Western Europe, from Normandy's hedgerows to the Ardennes open fields. Commanders valued its ability to rush to threatened sectors, screen advances, or exploit breaches, reshaping engagement dynamics where terrain permitted. The M18 Hellcat's mobility, proven at Dompaire, defined its role across 1944's European battlefields. United States commanders deployed the 76mm gun motor carriage M18 as a versatile anti-tank asset, capitalizing on its tested top speed of 55 miles per hour to meet dynamic threats. Assigned to tank destroyer battalions, Hellcats served as mobile reserves, screened supply lines, and supported infantry advances, particularly in France and Italy. Their ability to rapidly reposition allowed commanders to plug gaps, exploit weaknesses, or counter German armor concentrations with precision. Crews adhered to shoot and scoot doctrine, using speed to gain positional advantage. A typical engagement involved approaching undercover, firing the 76mm M1 gun from a flank, then withdrawing before German artillery or tanks could respond. At ranges of 800 to 1,000 yards, the gun reliably defeated Panzer IVs, though Panther frontal armor often required high-velocity, armor-piercing composite rigid rounds which were limited. The Hellcat's 37,557-pound frame enabled quick dashes, but its thin armor, less than 1 inch in places, left crews vulnerable to counterfire if caught. Fuel consumption and range varied with speed and terrain. On open roads, M18s could sustain higher average speeds than many German tanks under comparable conditions. At Arracourt in September 1944, U.S. tank destroyer units played a significant role in defeating German armored formations. Hellcats struck from concealed positions, inflicting losses on German armor before withdrawing, leveraging fog and terrain. German commanders tracking M18 movements cursed their inability to pin down the swift Hellcats. The heavier German tanks, bogged down by mechanical strain or narrow roads, struggled to match the M18's tactical tempo. However, environmental constraints, mud, urban streets, or dense forests curtailed the Hellcat's mobility. In broken terrain, speed dropped sharply, and mines or anti-tank guns posed lethal risks. Crews learned to avoid frontal duels, where the 76mm gun's standard rounds faltered against heavy armor, exposing the M18's light protection. The Hellcat's operational flexibility reshaped engagements where terrain permitted. Commanders paired M18s with infantry or Sherman tanks, using speed to outmaneuver German defenses. By late 1944, 2,507 M18s operated across multiple fronts, their mobility enabling rapid responses to German counteroffensives. While not invincible, the Hellcat's design allowed United States forces to dictate engagement terms in fluid battles, forcing German armor to react defensively. The M18 Hellcat's speed, reaching 55 miles per hour on paved roads, transformed tactical possibilities in 1944's fluid European campaigns. United States tank destroyer battalions U.S. tank destroyer units leveraged the 76mm gun motor carriage, M18's mobility, to execute devastating ambushes. At Arracourt in September 1944, U.S. Tank destroyer units and armoured forces exploited fog and rolling terrain to outmaneuver German armoured formations, striking from flanks before German crews could react. This mobility disrupted German attempts to consolidate, preserving United States momentum. Crews maximised the Hellcat's 37,557-pound frame, using its low silhouette to conceal positions behind hedgerows or ridges. The 76mm M1 gun firing 45 rounds of mixed ammunition targeted vulnerable side armour at ranges of 600 to 1,000 yards. Against Panzer IVs, standard armour-piercing rounds penetrated reliably. Panthers required closer shots or scarce high-velocity armour-piercing composite rigid ammunition for frontal kills. A Browning 50 caliber M2 HB machine gun supplemented the main gun with ammunition loads varying by unit. The M18 required regular suspension maintenance under heavy cross-country use. The M18's torsion bar system, while robust, wore under prolonged cross-country dashes, risking breakdowns if neglected. Crews trained for shoot and scoot prioritized rapid repositioning, often covering 2 miles in minutes on suitable roads. This speed allowed Hellcats to evade artillery, while fire control and registration were established at Arracourt, US. Tank destroyer units and supporting forces played a significant role in defeating German armoured formations. Hellcats struck from concealed positions, inflicting losses on German armour, before withdrawing, leveraging fog and terrain. German tankers, squinting through optics, cursed as Hellcats fired and vanished into mist. German Panthers had lower sustained road speeds under operational conditions and often could not pursue brief high-speed bursts. This tactical edge forced German commanders to allocate infantry or anti-tank guns to protect flanks, diluting their offensive strength. The M18's production, 2,507 M18s by October 1944, ensured its presence in key battles from Normandy to the Moselle River, amplifying United States anti-tank capabilities. The Hellcat's success hinged on terrain and doctrine. Open fields or paved roads amplified its speed advantage, enabling rapid strikes and withdrawals. In contrast, narrow lanes or urban environments restricted maneuvers, exposing crews to ambushes or heavy guns. Commanders paired M18s with reconnaissance units to scout paths, ensuring mobility remained decisive. These ambushes, blending speed and firepower, underscored the Hellcat's role as a battlefield disruptor, reshaping German armoured tactics. The M18 Hellcat's mobility, peaking at 55 miles per hour on paved roads, faltered when terrain or tactics denied its speed advantage. In late 1944, during the Battle of the Bulge U.S., tank destroyer units operating in the Ardennes faced German Panzer IVs and Panthers in the dense forests and muddy trails. The 76mm gun motor carriage M18, weighing 37,557 pounds, struggled in snow-choked paths, where its tested top speed became irrelevant. Narrow roads and ambushes by German anti-tank guns exposed its thin armour, often less than 1 inch thick. The 76mm M1 gun, carrying 45 rounds, excelled against Panzer IVs at 800 yards, but faltered against Panther frontal armour without high-velocity, armour-piercing, composite rigid ammunition, which remained scarce. In frontal engagements, standard rounds rarely penetrated, heavy plates, forcing crews to risk close-range flank shots. The open-top turret, designed to save weight, left crews vulnerable to artillery, shrapnel, and small arms fire, especially in urban fights or wooded areas. The Browning 50 caliber M2 HB machine gun offered limited defense against infantry swarms. Tracks and running gear wore quickly in abrasive, muddy conditions. The Hellcat's lightweight tracks, optimized for speed, suffered accelerated wear in prolonged mud and abrasive terrain, risking immobilization under fire. In the Ardennes, long-range tank destroyers and heavy anti-tank guns often engaged Hellcats at ranges that reduced their ability to withdraw. The M18's shoot and scoot doctrine failed when escape routes were cut or terrain funneled units into kill zones. Crews trained for mobility faced high losses when forced into static defense or frontal slugging matches against heavier tanks. German gunners sighting M18s through snow cursed their speed, but exploited their fragility. German armoured formations, using concealed positions and coordinated anti-tank defences, knocked out Hellcats, unable to maneuver, capitalizing on the M18's light protection. These engagements revealed the Hellcat's dependence on open terrain and tactical freedom. In suitable conditions, its 2,507 units across Europe disrupted German armor. But in restrictive environments, its vulnerabilities, thin armor, limited firepower against heavy tanks, and terrain sensitivity proved costly. Commanders adjusted tactics, pairing M18s with infantry to clear obstacles or Shermans to absorb frontal hits. Yet the Hellcat's design trade-offs, prioritizing speed over durability, limited its effectiveness in attritional fights. The Ardennes underscored that mobility, while transformative, required careful employment to avoid exposing the M18's inherent weaknesses, forcing United States forces to rethink its role in close-quarters combat. The M18 Hellcat's reputation, built on its 55-mile-per-hour speed, faced scrutiny as 1944 battles exposed its limits alongside its strengths. The 76mm gun motor Carriage, M18, with 2,507 units, deployed reshaped engagements like Arracourt, where mobility enabled U.S. tank destroyer and armored units to outmaneuver German armored formations. Yet, in the Ardennes, U.S. tank destroyer units operating in restrictive terrain found the same speed of limited value, revealing the Hellcat's conditional effectiveness. Its 37,557-pound frame thrived only where roads or open fields allowed rapid dashes. The 76mm M1 gun, stowing 45 rounds, reliably defeated Panzer IVs at 1,000 yards, but Panther frontal armor demanded high-velocity, armor-piercing composite rigid rounds, often unavailable. Thin armor, less than 1 inch thick, left crews exposed to 88mm guns or infantry grenades, especially in urban or forested fights. The Continental R975 engine, driving the 900T Torqmatic transmission, enabled tactical surprises, but required careful maintenance to sustain performance. Crews adhering to shoot and scoot needed favorable conditions to exploit the Hellcat's design. Maintenance intervals increased under combat stress and varied with tempo and conditions, rather than following a single fixed-hour schedule. Mechanical reliability, critical for sustained mobility, faltered under prolonged stress, particularly in mud or snow. The Hellcat's successes at Dompaire and Arracourt relied on ambush tactics, open terrain, and commanders leveraging its speed to dictate engagement terms. When forced into frontal duels or confined spaces, as in the Ardennes, the M18's vulnerabilities overshadowed its advantages, with losses mounting against heavier German armor or entrenched positions. German commanders analyzing M18 tactics cursed their fleeting strikes, but adapted with anti-tank traps. German armored formations and coordinated anti-tank defenses used terrain to channel Hellcats into kill zones, neutralizing their speed. This shift highlighted the M18's reality. Mobility was a powerful tool, not a universal solution. Its ability to outpace many German tanks on suitable roads altered local battles, but required doctrinal precision, terrain advantage, and ammunition suited to heavier targets. The Hellcat's legacy balanced brilliance with constraint. It validated mobility-first doctrine where conditions aligned, enabling United States forces to disrupt German armor and protect advances. Yet its light armor and firepower limitations underscored the need for combined arms support. Commanders learned to deploy M18s selectively, maximizing their speed while mitigating exposure, a lesson that shaped their use through 1945's final campaigns. The M18 Hellcat's 55-mile-per-hour speed redefined anti-tank warfare in 1944, but its legacy reflects both triumphs and trade-offs. The 76mm gun motor Carriage, M18, with 2,507 units, produced equipped United States tank destroyer battalions from Normandy to the Rhine, enabling rapid responses to German armor. At Arracourt, U.S. tank destroyer and armored units used mobility and terrain to gain advantage over German armored forces. Yet, in the Ardennes, U.S. tank destroyer units faltered against restrictive terrain and heavy guns, exposing the M18's limits. Weighing 37,557 pounds, the Hellcat's Continental R975 engine and 900T Torqmatic transmission, delivered agility on roads, allowing shoot and scoot tactics. Its 76mm M1 gun, with 45 rounds, dispatched Panzer IVs at effective combat ranges, but struggled against Panther frontal armor without high-velocity rounds. Thin armor under 1-inch protected minimally a deliberate choice to prioritize speed. This design enabled tactical flexibility, but left crews vulnerable to artillery, infantry, or 88mm fire in static fights. German tankers, wary of M18 ambushes, cursed their elusive speed yet exploited their fragility. By 1945, German forces adapted using mines, narrow terrain, and heavy tank destroyers to counter Hellcats, forcing United States commanders to integrate M18s with Shermans and infantry. The Hellcat's mobility remained decisive in open terrain, screening advances or rushing to threatened sectors, but its effectiveness hinged on doctrine, terrain, and support. Post-war, the M18's 2,507 units saw limited use as doctrine and armored designs evolved. The Hellcat's impact endures in military analysis. Historians credit its mobility for disrupting German armor in ambush scenarios, while noting that its light armor and firepower constraints limited universality, requiring careful tactical employment. The design validated speed as a force multiplier, but underscored the need for balanced capabilities. Modern studies highlight the M18's role in 1944 to 1945 as a niche yet pivotal asset that reshaped engagement dynamics when conditions aligned.